human mind is a fortress. It is built of stone, logic, and the desperate need to be perceived as whole. Most people spend their entire existence reinforcing these walls, terrified of what might happen if someone found the key. They guard their secrets like gold, never realizing that the lock is the most vulnerable part of the structure. I am not like most people. I am the one who finds the key. I am the one who turns it, and I am the one who watches as the entire architecture collapses from within. My name is irrelevant, but my nature is absolute. I was 23 when I first understood that I was not broken. I was simply wired for a frequency that most people spend their entire lives trying to mute. I do not see a person. I see a series of locked doors and the precise pressure point required to force them open. You are still listening. You are still here. That tells me everything I need to know about you. You are not judging me. You are looking into a mirror. Picture a penthouse in Zurich. Floor-to-ceiling glass. Rain hammering against the exterior like a desperate intruder trying to find a way in. Inside, the air is still, filtered, and expensive. Across from me sat Valentina. Her existence was defined by an untouchable status and a sharp, aristocratic Swiss accent that cut through the room like a blade. We were engaged in a high-stakes game of psychological chess. I leaned forward, the candlelight dancing in her eyes, and whispered a secret she believed had been buried in a shallow grave years ago. The shift was instantaneous. The air between us seemed to thicken. A flicker of breathless, primal panic crossed her face, a sudden tremor in her hands as she gripped the edge of the table. In that heartbeat, she realized I held the leverage. She looked at me, searching for a sign of mercy, but found only the cold clarity of my observation. And the most chilling part, I felt a smile touch my lips. It was an intoxicating rush, watching a perfect, polished facade shatter into dust. But this was not my beginning. To understand the depth of this, we must return to a boarding school outside Geneva, a gilded cage for the wealthy. I was 17. There was a boy named Sebastian, a rival who wore his arrogance like a shield. I found his phone left unguarded in the library. It was a simple error, a lapse in judgment that cost him everything. I did not just read his messages, I cataloged his deepest insecurities, mapping the fault lines of his ego. I returned the device as if it had never been touched. For 3 months, I left anonymous notes under his door, echoing the very fears he kept hidden from the world. I watched him spiral. He became erratic, jumping at shadows, his composure fraying with every passing day. I listened from the dark corners of a locker room as he finally broke down, sobbing into his hands. I stood in the silence, watching the light leave his eyes, and I felt nothing but a profound sense of satiation. It was a clean, surgical operation. By the time I reached London, I had refined my craft. I call it the audition. I frequent high-end, members-only bars, seeking those who have the most to lose. Charlotte, a top-tier lawyer, was my most recent subject. She saw a charming, slightly awkward man. She did not see the observer who memorized every micro-expression, every slip of the tongue, every nervous habit. We sat in a private VIP lounge, the low hum of jazz masking our conversation. I leaned in, my voice dropping to a whisper. I recited the details of her hidden offshore account, the exact dates, the shell companies, the paper trail she thought was invisible. Her glass stopped halfway to her lips. The transition from amusement to absolute ruin was a symphony of human fragility. Her breathing stopped. Her eyes darted toward the exit. The audition was over. She was broken. I have attempted to stop. In Paris, a therapist named Dr. Moreau tried to pathologize my nature. He was a man of stiff posture and pretentious labels, sitting behind a desk cluttered with leather-bound journals. I told him everything. I recounted the phone, the locker room, the systematic ruin of others. I expected horror. I expected him to reach for the phone to call for help. Instead, I saw his pupils dilate. He leaned forward, his hands gripping the edge of his mahogany desk until his knuckles turned white. He was not disgusted. He was fascinated. He was living vicariously through my confessions, his breath hitching as I described the precise moment a person breaks. The clinical distance vanished. He was no longer a doctor. He was an audience member craving a front-row seat to the carnage. I walked out of his office, the air in the hallway feeling thin and cold. I reached back and took his silver Mont Blanc pen from the desk as a souvenir. He did not even notice. He was just another person hiding a darker shadow than my own, desperate to see his own reflection in the wreckage I left behind. The diagnosis was clear. I was not the patient. I was the mirror. Back in my study, The air is thick with the scent of cedar and old paper. I keep a mahogany drawer in my desk, a heavy piece of furniture that demands respect. I slide it open. Inside lies my history, preserved in 17 photographs. They are not portraits of people. They are portraits of endings. I pick one up. The edges are worn from touch. It shows a man at a gala, his mouth slightly open, eyes wide as the realization of his public undoing takes hold. I sort them by the intensity of that specific, fleeting second, the exact moment their illusions dissolved into nothingness. I run my thumb over the glossy surface of another. A woman, caught in a private hallway, her hand frozen mid-gesture as she understands her life is no longer hers. There is no joy in these images, only the raw, unvarnished truth of human fragility. I arrange them in rows, a silent gallery of shattered facades. Each photograph is a trophy of a reality I forced to the surface. I am not a monster. I am a collector of human truth. I close the drawer, the wood clicking shut with a final, heavy sound. The cycle is ready to begin again. Tonight, in my study overlooking Hyde Park, the rain taps against the glass in a steady, rhythmic pulse. Across the table sits Olivier. He is a man of vast wealth and inherited confidence, his posture rigid, his movements deliberate. We are playing chess, but the board is merely a prop, a distraction from the reality resting in a leather folder to his left. He has already signed the contract that will dismantle his family's legacy, and he has no idea. He lifts a glass of bourbon, the ice clinking against the crystal, and takes a slow, measured sip. His fingers twitch as he contemplates his next move, hovering over a knight. He thinks he is safe. He thinks he is in control of the board and his future. I watch his breath, counting the seconds until the realization hits him. He glances up, a thin, self-assured smile touching his lips, completely unaware that the foundation of his world has already been pulled from beneath him. I let the silence stretch. It is a tool, sharp and cold. Olivier shifts in his chair, the leather creaking under his weight. He reaches for his glass again, but his hand pauses halfway, hovering in the air. He looks at the board, then at me, searching for a sign. I say nothing. I simply hold his gaze, my own expression a mask of polite indifference. He clears his throat, a small, jagged sound. He is starting to feel it now. The subtle shift in the atmosphere, the way the air seems to thin. He looks down at the folder, his fingers drumming a nervous, irregular rhythm against the mahogany table. I could end this now. A single sentence would shatter his composure, turning his confidence into ash. But there is a particular, exquisite texture to this anticipation. I watch his eyes dart toward the door, then back to the contract, a flicker of doubt crossing his face. He is beginning to suspect. The clock on the wall ticks, each beat a hammer blow against his fragile piece. He is waiting for me to speak. You are still listening. You are still here, fixed in your seat, waiting for the final word. That tells me everything I need to know about you. You are not judging me. You are not looking for a hero or a villain. You are looking into a mirror. Every detail I have shared, every life I have dismantled, you have consumed with a hunger that matches my own. You tell yourself you are different, that you are merely an observer of these events, but you are the one who keeps the cycle spinning. You seek the thrill of the collapse. You want to see the facade shatter just as much as I do. You are not a bystander in this study. You are an accomplice to the truth. I see you in the way you hold your breath, in the way you refuse to turn away from the screen. We are the same, you and I. We are the ones who look at the fortress and see only the hidden entrance. The question is, when you finally see your own reflection in the wreckage of these lives, will you be able to look away? Or will you keep watching, waiting for the next secret to be whispered? Waiting for the next structure to fall? The game never truly ends. Look at your own eyes. Tell me, what do you see in the dark?